In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Afia Mahmood, and this is the course of communication skills for BS students of semester 2nd. Our topic for today is presentation skills. The presentation skills are the most essential skills for students in universities, because they have to take this skill along with them in their professional life as well. It is a skill which is highly demanded in every organization as well. So it is said that if you have a brilliant idea, but you can't get it across, then your idea won't take you anywhere. So just keeping your brilliant ideas, just being a brilliant student is not going to help you. You should be able to present your ideas in a nice way, in a brilliant way as well. So in this particular lecture, we are going to see how can we give a good presentation. So before we move on, here is a small assessment test for you. This is a self-assessment test. Here you have to ask few questions from you. From yourself, you have to ask yourself, what is your experience of giving presentations? How many presentations have you given up till now? So being a student of second semester, you might have given 4 to 5 presentations up till now. So you have to tell that how many presentations have you given up till now. What do you like about it? What do you like about your presentation or presentations? What do you dislike about it? And will you need to present in the future? Of course, being the student, you all will need to present in the future as well, in your academic and in your professional life as well. It's very important that you answer yourself these questions, because if you know what are the good things in you and what are the things that you need to improve, only then you will be able to bring some real improvement. If you don't know that what needs improvement, then you won't really be able to bring improvement. So anxiety is a thing that is faced by all, whether they are the good experienced presenter or whether they are the new presenters. The experienced presenter also feel anxiety. So if you feel anxious, you don't need to worry. Anxiety can be controlled, anxiety can be overcome. It can be overcome through these things. So you can organize your material. You should plan well. Preparation and planning is going to save you from poor performance. So you have to organize your material well. You have to visualize yourself delivering a successful presentation. You have to tell yourself, you have to tell your brain and mind that I can deliver a successful presentation. If you will tell yourself that I cannot give a good presentation, or I am not a good presenter, I cannot speak well, I feel nervous, I lack confidence. If you tell such negative things to yourself, then you won't be able to improve. So you have to visualize yourself. You have to imagine that yes, I am delivering a good, successful presentation. You have to rehearse by standing up and using all of the visual aids. So you have to do a rehearsal in advance. You have to do rehearsal in advance before giving the actual presentation. You can do rehearsal in the classroom where you will have to present, and you should present. If you have to use multimedia, so you should try to do rehearsal with the multimedia. Then you should deep breathly just prior to speaking and during your presentation, because breathing deeply actually releases our tension. Then you have to move as well when you speak, and you have to try to stay relaxed and natural, because moving will make you feel relaxed and natural. If you are just standing still on one side in one posture, it will feel like you are doing something artificial and you are not relaxed. and you have to maintain a good eye contact with your audience. So all these things are actually going to help you to overcome your anxiety if you are following these. And of course, the most important thing is practice makes the man perfect. So you have to follow all of these points. So now we will move on. Dear students, it is said that the audience is only going to remember 3 things from your presentations. So just imagine that your audience is going to remember only 3 things. What 3 things would you like them to remember? You have to write these 3 things here. You have to, so when you are given a presentation topic and you are preparing for it, when you start preparing for it, at that particular moment, you should write 3 things that you will like your audience to remember about your presentation. And then you should try to focus on those 3 things so that you may be able to prepare well. Otherwise, if you are not sure that what the audience is going to remember, you may end up with that your audience is going to remember nothing about your presentation. So you should focus, at least you should work hard on at least 3 things. So or these 3 things can be 3 points. So if you want that they should remember your good presentation style, your good speaking style, or your good content, or these 2 points from the content, you should focus more on those points. So remember that anyone can give a good presentation. If you are not naturally a good speaker, you have fear of public speaking, it does not matter. If you are an introvert, it does not matter. You can still give a good presentation. Practice and preparation are the keys to success. Now, getting ready for the presentation. Before actually presenting before the audience, in front of the audience, obviously you have to do a lot of work. We will see what that lot of work is. We will see that what should be done before actually presenting in front of the audience. So you should be clear about the aim. What's the purpose of my presentation? Do I want to teach some new point? Do I want to inform my audience? Do I want to entertain my audience? What do I want to do? Do I want to persuade my audience to buy a certain product? What do I want to do? You should be very clear about it. You should be clear, who am I speaking to? Are they your class fellows? Are they your colleagues? Are they your teachers? Who they are? You should be very clear about it. So because your content will depend on it, so you will have to select the words, the language according to it. What are the main points? You should be very clear. It should be well organized, and in the next sections we are going to see how it should be organized. Then you should also know that what do I want my audience to do after listening to my presentation. So this is linked to it, that you should be clear about the aim. You should know that where is it going to take place, because new places can cause some nervousness. They can make you nervous. So you should know in advance that where is it going to take place, which room, which multimedia room or which smart room is it going to take place. Whether it is going to take place in the auditorium or in the hall or in the same classroom, with what time of the day it is, whether it is morning or when most people will be feeling fresh or sleepy, or is it the end of the day when people will be tired. What should you do? So you will have to try to make your presentation interesting accordingly. Then you should also know, you should also take care of your dressing. Your dressing should be appropriate. So here are some dressing guides for both men and women. So for men these are here, and for women these are on the next slide. So suits should be well tailored and should fit well. So whichever suit you are wearing as a man or as a boy, you should take care that it is neither too loose nor too tight. And you shouldn't wear bright colors, because they are going to divert the attention of the audience. Now the audience won't be more attracted towards your presentation. They will be looking at your bright colored dress again and again. So you should not divert the attention of the audience by wearing something unusual. Shoes should be appropriate, comfortable and well shined. This point is both for the men and women, that it should be, the shoes should be appropriate, comfortable and well shined, and socks should also match. Hair should be well groomed regardless of the style. So this is particularly for the men, that regardless of the style, whichever style you are wearing, you should be careful that you should have a proper haircut. The hair should be well groomed. Now for women, again the same point, that clothes should be fit, neither too loose nor too tight, and preferably women should wear long sleeves. And then they should select the colors of the dresses that are complementing their complexion and the hair color. Women particularly should avoid any sort of jewelry that sparkles or dangles or makes noises. So for example, if you are wearing some bright or shiny or sparkling earrings, these are going to divert the attention. The audience will focus more on your jewelry and earrings and your bangles than on your presentation. Your bangles will also create noise which are going to divert the attention. So you should avoid such jewelry. Your makeup should be simple and complement you. It should not feel awkward, or it should not feel artificial. So it should be natural and simple. So hairstyle should add to a positive appearance. It is suggested that women should not come for presentation with an open hairstyle. They should tie their hair properly and in a well. So this is going to give them a composed appearance. Now we will see how can we organize our data during presentation. The data should be well organized. So which point should come first and which point should come second, it should be decided beforehand. In this organization section, we will discuss the organization of beginning, organization of middle, and organization of end, and the last section of the presentation. And when we are talking about the beginning, middle and end, there are some points, and plus there are few sentences and phrases that you guys can use for your presentation. So first of all, you should greet your audience. Obviously, you can greet your audience by saying hello ladies and gentlemen, good morning, assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, so whatsoever you like. And then you can signal that presentation has started by using such phrases like good, fine, great, can we start? You can say let's get the ball rolling, or shall we start, or let's get down to business. It's very important to greet the audience and to use such phrases because this is going to build a rapport, this is going to establish a rapport with your audience. So you should greet the audience first. If you are just starting your presentation right away without greeting them, then obviously it's going to create a rude impression on the audience, or at least it is not going to create a nice impression. Okay, so the next thing that you should also introduce yourself. So if you are presenting in the same class, even then you should at least tell your name. And if you are presenting in your company, in some organization where you are doing job, you should tell about your name, the position, that what is your position, what is your designation, and your institution. If you are presenting in an organization, you should tell that what you are expert at. If you tell that I am, for example, I am the expert of this particular subject, it is going to establish your authority on that particular subject. So audience will listen to you more carefully than if you are not introducing them anything at all. So you can use such phrases to introduce yourself, like I would like to start by introducing myself, and so you can use such phrases to introduce yourself. Next, you can begin with a joke or an anecdote or a statement made to surprise or provoke in order to gain audience attention. So your whole job is to grab audience attention. You should grab this attention by telling either a short story or a joke or some quotation. But this thing should be related to your presentation. So you can also tell some statistics, something which people don't know. So you can also ask some questions. So the whole job is to grab the attention of the audience. So whatever your topic will be, you can simply search the story related to that topic. That story can be personal story as well. It can be your personal story, or it can be story that anybody else experienced. It can be anything. It can be any event in the history as well, but it should be smaller one. Anecdote is a small story that you relate. So if you don't find an anecdote, you can start with any quotation. So as I told you, a quotation in the beginning of the presentation. So you can start with some quotation as well. So finding quotations, by the way, is quite easier than finding some statistics or other things. So it depends on your topic, that what do you want to select. After grabbing the attention, now it's the time that you should give title and introduce the subject. You should tell about the title of your presentation clearly, and then you should tell that why are you speaking about it. You should tell that what's the reason of this particular presentation, why have I selected this topic. So if you have selected the topic of learner psychology, or if you have selected the topic of COVID-19, or if you have selected any other topic, you should tell the audience that why have I selected this topic, what's the importance of my topic. Even if you are assigned the topic by your course instructor, it's compulsion that you have to present on it. Even then you should tell the importance or significance of that particular topic. Okay, then you should also set some limits on the scope of your talk, because it is possible that audience may question you. So for example, if you are presenting on a topic, an audience may ask you that you haven't discussed the demerits, or you haven't discussed the opponent's point of view. So you should make it clear in the beginning that what you are going to discuss. So it will protect you from any sort of criticism. Then you should also tell the audience how much time are you going to take. Are you going to take 5 minutes, or are you going to take 15 minutes? You should make it clear in the very beginning, because nobody likes to hear long presentations. Then you should also tell about your objectives very clearly. In the beginning as well, we discussed that you should be clear about your objectives. You should make it clear to the audience that what you want them to take away, what you want them to do, and what they should remember. So you should make it clear that I want you to remember this. So for example, you can say that my purpose in this presentation is to give you a solid background on the subject of oral presentation skills, so that in future at UE or elsewhere you can deliver a successful speech in front of a group. So you have to tell them clearly that this is my objective of the presentation. Okay. You should also outline that my presentation will be divided into 4 sections, into 3 sections, or only 2 sections. So you should also announce your outline very clearly, and you can use such sentences. Then you can tell audience about the questions and comments, because every presenter adopts a different strategy for the questions and comments. So you can tell them about your strategy in the very beginning, whether you like to take comments at the end, or you will like them to interrupt you at any moment. So you can tell them by saying it, I would ask you to save your questions for the end, or you may interrupt me at any moment. You see that many teachers use such strategies. They tell you in the beginning that when can you ask such questions. So being a presenter, you should also give this option to your audience, that they can ask you questions in the middle or in the end. Then you should make a transition between the introduction and the body. If you are moving from now, up till now we have discussed that you should greet the audience, you should make your objectives clear, and you should introduce yourself as well, and you should tell your outline as well. So we have discussed these points. So when you are done with the introduction, it will only take you 1 minute hardly to introduce the whole thing, introduce yourself and the subject. So when you are going to move towards your main body, you have to make a transition. For this purpose, you have to use transition sentences. So you should make a good transition. Now we will move on and see how the middle of the body should be structured. What should you do in the what should you do during the presentation? So when you are moving to the middle of the body or middle of the presentation, you should make sure that you have included the relevant information. You should not include any extra information, because obviously there are time constraints, and time of yours and time of the audience is also important. So you should take care of the time. Plus, if you are including any extra information or any irrelevant information, it's a possibility that audience may focus on the extra information provided, and your some important information may be neglected or may be ignored. So it's better that you should only include the points which are most relevant, which are most important. Plus, you should not compromise the quality while focusing on the quantity. The quantity should be sufficient to develop your ideas. You should not skip any points. You should try to develop your ideas clearly. You should include all the relevant examples. So while cutting down the information, you should not cut any of the important ideas that may not that may weaken your presentation. So remember, examples are very important, and at the same time there should be logical evidence and statistics to support your arguments. So you should not cut any irrelevant information. The information should be enough to develop your ideas fully. Secondly, you should also sequence your ideas. You should not just present them randomly. You can follow any chronological order. For example, if you have to present some historical some topic which has a historical background, like an historical movement in education, if you have to present some movements in education or in any other field, you can adopt this chronological order, where you will tell the first event first and then second event second. You can either move from general to specific. So for example, if there is a topic of let's suppose topic of learner psychology, so you can move from general to specific. Like you can talk about learner psychology, the studies of learner psychology in the world overall, and then you can move to your context. You can move to Pakistan, and then you can move to your specific context. If you are given some very difficult topic which is not known, so for example, you are given some different and difficult theory which you and your class fellows don't know before, so now when you have well researched, you can start from known to unknown. So you can start from some concept which is familiar to your class fellows, and then you can move to that unknown theory that now you have well researched but your class fellows still don't know. So you can adopt an approach from known to unknown. So it's better that you should not present the unknown facts first. Okay. Then the middle of the body, during the middle of the body, you should also try to keep the audience attention. You should try to keep the audience attention by using different strategies. You can give something, you can tell them something surprising, some surprising fact, or you can give them some statistic. This thing will help audience this thing will help you to maintain the interest of the audience. So you can use any unusual facts. For example, if we take the topic of learner psychology, you can search different interesting facts and then you can quote them at the relevant points. For example, you can tell your audience that, do you know gardening improves children's desire to learn and boosts their confidence? So you can include such facts. Or there's another fact about learners psychology. So Greater expectations can lead to better result, and lower expectation decrease result. So you can try to include any of the interesting facts which are related to your own topic. Then you can use words like you, we, us and our. Such words will make the audience feel that they belong to this particular presentation. They actually, that you belong to them as well. It will also give an impression that you belong to the audience. You can also tell a real life story or anecdote, and then you can also ask audience to do something, like you can ask the audience to raise your hands, or you can ask the audience to close their eyes for a while and imagine this thing or that thing, or you can ask the audience to stand up for some activity or move for some activity. You can pair the audience, so you can actually ask the audience to do something. In this way you will actually be involving the audience. So you can ask the audience direct or rhetorical questions. You can ask any rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions can be like the questions which won't require any specific answer. You can answer them yourself as well. So see here, there is one rhetorical examples of rhetorical questions, like have you ever seen or have you ever heard, what does this mean, and then you explain it yourself. So such are the rhetorical questions. At the same time you have to be brief and clear. So audience don't have time, as we already said, and so your time is also important. So speaker's attitude is very important. You should have a polite, friendly attitude. At the same time you should be open as well. So you should not restrict yourself that the audience cannot ask you the questions from you. You should be friendly, you should have a smiling face, and you should be open to the question. You should be lively and enthusiastic. It's very important that there should be some life in your presentation. You should not simply come and read. You should be lively and try to involve the audience. And plus liveliness would be shown through your body language and your voice quality. So your whole body, the whole personality is actually going to show whether you are lively and enthusiastic or not. You should also use a variety of media sources. So for example, you can use multimedia, handouts, you can use pictures, diagrams, you can use some activities. So you can use variety of media sources. Then you can emphasize for the important things, like you can say the important thing. So you can actually emphasize by reading that particular point again, or by using such phrases like the essential element is this, the most important thing to remember. So when you will say such things, the audience will get attentive at least towards that particular point. Then you should also stress verbs with your voice, like you can say we experimented with the concept over a period of 3 years. So you wanted to highlight experimented, so you can stress the verbs. Then you can add auxiliary verbs for emphasis as well, like instead of saying we saw a noticeable difference, you can say we did see a noticeable difference, we did see, I do know. So for example, just adding these auxiliary verbs like did or do will emphasize, and audience will become attentive. Then you should also signpost. Now what is signpost? Dear students, just imagine that you are traveling from Lahore to Islamabad, or from your city to any other city. When you are traveling on the road you see that there are many signposts. There are many boards which actually signal you that how far have you traveled, how much travel is left, how many kilometers are left, and which station is it, and after how many stations your station will arrive. So actually there are different signposts. There are different other signals which tell you that you have to take a turn here, you don't have to take a turn there. So similarly, you have to guide your listener by using expressions that tell them that where you are going. So you have to announce that where you are going. You can say that now this is my first point, or you can say now let's move towards the second point, or you can take pause, or you can be loud. So you have to indicate where you have started a point, where you have finished a point, where you are going to discuss a very important point, or where you are going to discuss a unique point. So you need to make it clear. You have to link your ideas as well. So you have to see that that's all I would like to say about this. Now we will move towards this topic. So you have to actually indicate that how your points are connected. You just not have to make sudden shifts or sudden transitions. So to be clear and concrete, you can use examples, rephrasing and summaries. And for using summaries and examples, you can use such expressions. So you can use for instance to illustrate this. Now let's take an example, or let me rephrase that to sum up. So these are just some of the phrases that you can actually use to give examples, rephrasing and summaries. Now dear students, we will see that once you are done with the presentation, what should you do then? Obviously after the presentation, now there is a time for the conclusion. So to end or the conclusion of your talk should include at least 4 parts. First of all, there should be a reminder what you try to show in your speech and how you try to do so. So you are going to sum up you are going to restate your objective in a way. So in this first point, it says that you are going to restate your objective, that our today's presentation aimed to look at certain aspects of learners' psychology. Then you will give us short conclusion. Then you will thank the audience for listening. That's very important, because just imagine that you have done somebody a favor by listening to them and the other person thank you. So you will really feel good. So similarly, you have to thank the audience for listening. An invitation to ask questions, and this is also very, very important. So most of the students only do this. They make only a short conclusion. No. So you have to restate objective, you have to thank, and you have to ask, invite questions and comments, or an open discussion. It can be anything. So for example, you can say I would be happy to answer any questions. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Or you can say thank you very much for your attention, and if there are any suggestions or comments, you are welcome to give. So you can use any of these phrases. Now dear students, what happens, what can you do if you come across any difficult question? So if somebody has asked a difficult question, so normally the question will not be difficult, because it's going to be asked from the same presentation that you just have given, and you have well researched the topic, so you have full command over it, so you need not to worry. But if you feel like question is difficult, make sure that you understand it very well. And if you don't understand it, you can ask question that I don't understand it, can you please repeat the question? So you can ask, and you can also repeat the question in your own words to check whether you have understood or not. So you can rephrase the question that this is what you have asked, so that the other person, so that both of you may become clear, the questioner and you as well. So both of you will become clear, and it will also, most important thing, it will also reduce or decrease your nervousness. Okay, next thing, that now if you don't know the answer of some question, you can delay it as well. So you can say can I answer this question at the end, or I will answer your question after looking up again, or after consulting the book again. So you can delay the answer as well. It's not necessary that you have to answer right there. If you are unable to answer, you can say, or for example, if somebody says that whatever you have written in your presentation, for example, you quoted somebody and somebody says that somebody from the audience says that this point is not correct. So you can say that yes, you may admit that you are not responsible. You may admit that you are not responsible. You can say that I read it in this particular author's book. I admit that the other person may have different opinion. So you can admit that there is nothing wrong. So, and you can also use such phrases like, I'm glad you asked this question, or that's a good question or point or remark. Or so if somebody is disagreeing with you, so you can say, I agree with you. You have to listen to the other points carefully, and then you can say, I agree with you, but there's another way of looking at it. So remember, dear students, that when you are answering the questions, you have to be careful. When you are answering the questions, you have to be careful that the purpose is to answer the question. The purpose is not to win some war, or it's not to win some game. You have to answer the question for the sake of learning. So you can use any of these ways, but remember that question answer session is for the sake of learning, and it's also going to give a good impression of yourself that you are open to the questions. Now let's move on. So it's also very important, dear students, that we should use visuals. We talked about use a variety of different media during presentation. What can be variety of media? So you can use either transparencies or slides. You can use PowerPoint slides. You can use handouts. So you can, it's a good idea to give out a paper copy, because when audience will have something in the hand, they will feel it easy, they will feel convenient to follow you. So you can also show different graphs, charts, drawings, images. You can show them something from the newspaper. You can show them something from some magazine, or you can bring some painting to the presentation room if that is relevant. So you can use any of these, and you can also use these things, include these in your presentation slides as well. So the point is that you have to communicate your message well, and you have to create the interest as well. So whatever helps you to communicate your message well, and whatever you think is going to create the interest, you can use that for the presentation. Then as I said, that the purpose of visuals is to create interest. So it helps audience to focus on your presentation. It helps them, it helps to illustrate points and in an easier way. It reinforces ideas, it emphasizes the ideas. So because an idea, for example, you are unable to convey, you can convey that idea by using bold letters or by different colors. So using visuals can also involve and motivate the audience. They can involve all the senses. So the more senses there will be involved, the more there are chances that you will remember. So just imagine that you have just listened to something. You may not remember all the details, but if you have watched a movie, you are going to remember more details. And just imagine that you yourself are the part of the movie, then you are going to remember everything. So you have to try to involve the maximum senses of the audience. Then so obviously it saves times and it avoids. So when you are when you are presenting, you have to also avoid turning back to the audience. So when you are using multimedia, obviously you can avoid turning your back to the audience, and it of course helps you as the speaker. Then when you are using some visuals, you have to be careful about the layout, font, size and colors. So it is said that on your slides, nothing should be less than 30 font size. So it should be readable. So whatever you are writing, it should be readable to everybody in the room. And you can use different colors. You can use capital letters, boldface, italics, underlining and other options. So you can make good use of color as well. Okay, now the most powerful visual aid is your body language. Now you should use this most powerful visual aid. Now just imagine that in your institute you don't have any multimedia, but you have your own body language. So you have to convey the whole message with your body language, your voice and your expressions. So it's very important to have a good body language. The golden rule is that you have to be natural and you have to relax. You don't have to be tensed. So body language includes eye contact, facial expressions, postures, movements and gestures. Good body language helps you to show that you are naturally communicating. It helps you to clarify your meaning, and it also releases or your vents out your nervousness. So it's very important that you make good use of body language. We will look at each of these things in detail in the coming slides. Now 7% of the message only is communicated with your words. Verbal means words, and non-verbal communication, you can see most part of the communication is actually communicated through your non-verbal. Non-verbal also has two parts. So 55% of vocabulary, or it's actually it is included in the body movements. So mostly facial expressions are actually your mostly facial expressions and your hand movement and your postures and gestures. These are included in the body movement. And then your 38% communication is done through your volume, pitch, rhythm and other things. So it's related to your voice and this is related to your body language. Now eye contact is very important, that you should keep eye contact with the audience. Just imagine that you are talking to somebody and the other person is not looking at you. You will feel like that the person is not interested in me, the person is not paying attention to me. So you should try to keep an eye contact with the audience. You can try to you can select somebody, you can or you can, so for example you can look into the eyes of somebody who is giving you some positive gestures, so it is also going to give you confidence. But you should not only look at that particular person, you should try to look into the eyes of different persons from the audience. Then your facial expressions should be natural and friendly. Don't forget to smile and you can raise your eyebrows to show surprise. You can open your eyes wide, or you can squint your eyebrows, or squint your eyes and knit your eyebrows to show puzzlement. So you can use different expressions. If your face is expressive, the audience is going to enjoy and take interest. So just imagine that why young children enjoy listening to stories when they are listening stories from their grandparents. You will see that grandparents make good use of the voice, plus they also make good use of the facial expressions that creates the interest. So similarly, you have to try to create interest by using appropriate facial expressions. Positive body language, that you have to stand straight but relaxed, and you have not to slouch or lean on one side. So if you are leaning on one side, it is going to give some casual impression. Then you should move to indicate a change of focus, keep the audience attention, move forward to emphasize, move to one side to indicate a transition. So while presenting, you can move either to one side of the audience or to another side of the audience, or sometimes if you want to change point, you can also move. So, and when you are moving towards the audience, it will also give them a feeling of involvement. Gesture, then up and down head movement or other movements to indicate importance. So you can use your hand movement. So if you are talking about driving, you can show through a steering or your hand movement. You can use pen or pointer to indicate a part, a place on a transparency or slide. Shrug of the shoulders, so you can shrug the shoulder. So you have to use body language. so be it any, so you have to be more expressive through your body language. Your body language should not be still and should not be, so it should express, and it should be lively, and it should be enthusiastic. Negative body language is that you are losing eye contact, you are only looking at notes, or you are only reading from the slides, or you are only looking at the board, or you are looking at the floor. So you should have eye contact with the audience, because this is the audience that you are communicating for. You are not communicating for the notes or for the screen or for the board. Audience are there for you. So you have to look into their eyes. The whole presentation is organized for the audience. At the same time, you have to be careful that you have not to stare. You have to look as if you are looking for the sake of understanding. Then don't sway back and forth like a pendulum. Some students do this, that they move back and forth and it feels like they have cramped something, or they are moving like a pendulum. So you should avoid it. Back turn to, so it is also not good that your back should be turned towards the audience, because if your back is turned towards the audience may smile, or may make fun, or may do any other thing, so which you may or may not like. So it's better that you should not turn your back towards the audience. Plus it is also considered disrespect to consider back towards the audience. Plus there are certain nervous tics, like you should not click your pen again and again. So you shouldn't make ticking sounds from the pen, because it shows nervousness. And you should not, if you are wearing some sweater or pants or some coat, you should not wear your hands in pockets, because it gives slightly casual expression. It gives a casual impression, and we don't want to give casual impressions in the presentations. Now, last but not at all the least, it's not the least, it's very important, voice and pronunciation. When you are going to present, you should double check the pronunciation of the difficult words, especially of the words which are to be repeated. So double check the pronunciations. Make sure you know how to correctly pronounce at least the key words and the technical words. So it's very important to check the pronunciation. Most students commit this mistake. It's very easy, dear students, to check the pronunciation of different and difficult words on internet and in any good dictionary, and in any good dictionary you can check the pronunciation of different words. Plus the voice, or more precisely the qualities of the voice, should be used to their fullest. So it is said that you should speak from your chest and not from your throat, because if you are feeling from your chest, speaking from your chest, you will be more loud, you will be more lively. So you have to be loud, you have to be lively, and you have to bring rise and fall in the pitch of the voice. You should not be monotone. Your speech should not be monotonous. You see, generally when there are speeches generally there are speeches where people are monotone, generally the audience goes to sleep. So you certainly don't want this. So you have to bring there should be rise and fall in the pitch of the voice. Then to indicate the importance and meaning, you can also change the pitch of the voice, and to create atmosphere and to avoid sounding monotonous and putting the audience to sleep, as I said earlier. So the intonation of the voice is really very important. So dear students, this is the end of our presentation. Now, if you can speak, you can influence. If you can influence, you can change lives. So we end our presentation with this positive thought, that through your presentations, through your good speaking skills, you can change lives, you can influence others. So here are the references which I consulted for this particular presentation. Thank you very much. Wish you best of luck with your presentations.